The idea that you can trust a Supreme Court justice with no independent review, no fact-finding, each the judge in his own cause, to follow the rules, has been blown to smithereens by the conduct of the Supreme Court justices themselves.
The highest court in our land should not have the lowest ethical standards.
Because the Republican members of the Supreme Court believe that nothing about their conduct or their thinking should ever be reviewed by anyone, desperate measures have entered the situation to try to pierce what is really happening at the most political Supreme Court of our lifetimes. And so the wife of a Supreme Court justice was caught on tape saying these words angrily: look at me, I'm German, from Germany. My heritage is German. You come after me, I'm going to give it back to you. What could Samuel Alito's wife possibly mean when invoking Germany and being German to inspire fear in the people who, in her mind at least, come after her?
Look at me. I'm German. I'm German. My heritage is German. You come after me, I'm going to give it back to you.
Many peoples of the world have much to be ashamed of, none more than Germany and Germans. Mrs. Alito sounds proud of being German. She's also proud of flying flags, and here's the flag that was used to express that specific pride, the pride of being German, beginning in the 1930s. Is the fear that that flag created around the world the fear that Mrs. Alito wants to create in her threatening use of her heritage? Look at me, I'm German, from Germany, my heritage is German. Okay, Mrs. Alito, tell us more about your family. What did they do during the war? I mean, your relatives who were still in Germany, living under, and perhaps like most Germans, supporting Adolf Hitler and everything he did. Tell us more. In that same secretly recorded conversation, Mrs. Alito expresses her outrage at having to even see a pride flag, a flag under which not a single human being has ever been sent to a gas chamber.
You know what I want? I want a Sacred Heart of Jesus flag, because I have to look across the lagoon at the pride flag for the next month.
Exactly.
And he's like, oh, please don't put up a flag. I said, I won't do it because I'm deferring to you. But when you are free of this nonsense, I'm putting it up, and I'm going to send them a message every day. Maybe every week I'll be changing the flags. There'll be all kinds. I made a flag in my head. This is how I satisfy myself. I made a flag. It's white, and it's yellow and orange flames around it. And in the middle is the word vergogna. Vergogna in Italian means shame.
There was a new attempt today to bring the Supreme Court into the 20th century when Democrats in the Senate advanced a bill to create an enforceable code of conduct for Supreme Court justices, the only members of the federal government who don't have one. Republican senators refused to allow the bill to even come to a vote. Joining us now is one of the proponents of that bill, Democratic Senator Sheldon Whitehouse of Rhode Island. He is a member of the Senate Judiciary Committee and chairs the Subcommittee on Federal Courts. He's also the author of The Scheme, How the Right Wing Used Dark Money to Capture the Supreme Court. Senator Whitehouse, thank you very much for being here tonight. The debate that didn't happen on the Senate floor today was a remarkable thing, that we have senators now, Republican senators, who firmly believe that there should be absolutely no way at all to review the conduct of Supreme Court justices.
Yeah, and they had a hard time making that pitch. They basically drove two theories. One was simply to change the subject. They talked about wokeness. They talked about the FBI. They talked about abortion, things that had no direct bearing on the matter at hand, which was an ethics code for the Supreme Court that is enforceable. They also said that we were trying to interfere with the independence of the court and to violate the separation of powers, which is a strange argument to make because the bill would ask the judiciary to create its own ethics process, which would be implemented by employees and members of the judiciary. So when you have a judiciary with an ethics code that is operating within the judiciary, that is run by members and employees of the judiciary, it's very hard to understand how they can say that's a separation of powers problem. In fact, that's the way the existing code works. They've never complained about it. The justices have never complained about it. The judicial conference that oversees the judiciary was created by Congress. The recusal laws and disclosure laws, particularly the disclosure laws that the judicial conference is now investigating Thomas's compliance with, all of that passed by Congress. No complaint, no fuss. So it's, it's a tell when the arguments against what you're trying to do don't even address what you're trying to do.
One of the things that struck me was the argument that this bill would allow lower-ranking members of the federal judiciary to examine the conduct of their bosses, as one of the Republican senators put it. First of all, they're not their bosses, but that's like saying, well, the members of the police department can't possibly investigate the mayor.
Yeah, and not to mention the fact that the thing that they say is impossible is actually happening right now. We know from the Judicial Conference's own records that its current investigation of Justice Thomas for the second batch of Harlan Crow freebie yacht and jet travel to Thomas is currently being investigated by the Judicial Conference, which is made up of those district and circuit court judges. I don't know how they don't know that. I don't know how whoever is preparing their remarks doesn't alert them to the fact that they're saying that the thing that can't be done is presently happening without objection from the Supreme Court, without objection from Thomas, who's the subject of the investigation. So we really step into la-la land super quick when the arguments have to be made against a Supreme Court ethics code.
And we've already seen corrective measures taken by some of these judges just because of press reporting about them. Senator, we have to squeeze in a commercial break right here. If you could possibly stay with us to continue this after the break. All right, we'll be right back with Senator Sheldon Whitehouse.